If you're at all familiar with the movement and organization of cartels within Mexico, then it's a guarantee that you've heard the four-letter acronym that spread fear and worry throughout the country during its prime. CJNG, or the Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación, is a cartel so brutal and so menacing that they've been compared to guerrilla fighters and even terrorist organizations across the globe. Since their conception in 2010 following the fracture of the old Milenio cartel, CJNG have grown rapidly and have taken over large parts of the Mexican drug trade. In doing so, they have left a trail of bloodshed and body parts in their wake. They operate through hyperviolence with both guns and more traditional machetes and axes in order to terrify their competition as well as their own members. Many of this cartel's brutal acts can be seen online as they enjoy broadcasting their brutality to as many people as possible. These recordings are used both as a warning to others and as a way to spread overall fear of the organization, with a very clear meaning to both: if you cross us, you will die. Because of the violent nature of this cartel, a ruler who operates like a dictator is practically mandatory, and Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes fits that bill perfectly. Also known as El Mencho, he is one of the most brutal and terrifying men on the planet. With the cartel's reputation, it's pretty clear that crossing them is a bad idea. Doing anything against the cartel's wishes is a surefire way to end up in a terrible situation. And yet a man named Carlos Sanchez, also known as El Cholo, left the organization in late 2017, despite being an early member and a high-ranking lieutenant. El Cholo did not leave the cartel by himself. That would be incredibly difficult, and even more suicidal than his plan already was. Instead, he had the help of someone close to the boss, who had worked with him during the days of the Milenio cartel. His name was Eric Valencia Salazar, otherwise known as EL85. While still working for CJNG, L85 was arrested by Mexican forces in March of 2012. He spent 5 years behind bars before he was actually released ahead of schedule, with a federal judge absolving him due to violations in his due process. It was believed that there was not enough evidence to convict him, and the only way he was put away was due to corruption. Upon his release, many believed he would go back to work for CJNG. This wasn't the case. However, after his release, he contacted El Cholo in order to start a campaign against El Mencho in order to break away from the cartel. They started their own cartel, known as Nueva Plaza, which was based in Jalisco and officially led by El Cholo. By 2019, L85 and El Cholo had completely turned against CJNG and were in fact aiding the Sinaloa cartel in fighting them for dominance. The new organization was proving to be a thorn in El Mencho's side, especially because they were operating out of the same region. El Cholo even murdered a financier from CJNG. And this was the straw that finally broke the proverbial camel's back. El Mencho sent a hit squad after El Cholo with the strict orders to take him down by whatever means necessary. The hit failed, however, and the Nueva Plaza cartel successfully retaliated by murdering the leader of the hit squad. The war between these two factions has seen a rise of violence within the city of Guadalajara as they compete for control of the meth industry within the city. El Cholo is rumored to have gotten some of the top police officers within the city into his payroll, effectively giving him free rein to do whatever he liked within the city. Despite his organization being vastly outmatched by CJNG in terms of resources, wealth, and manpower, they were doing remarkably well and were steadily growing as time went on. El Cholo, however, was playing a dangerous game, and it was one that he was going to lose very badly. On March 18, 2021, a video was released online depicting El Cholo captured, surrounded by heavily armed CJNG members. The video is essentially a short confession by El Cholo, where he states that he is supported by one of the highest-ranking police chiefs, Omar Hamid Garcia Harfuch. This is the last known footage of El Cholo before his brutal demise, and because of how important this video actually is, we went out and looked for a full translation and transcription of it so you can hear the last words spoken by this man. My name is Carlos Enrique Sanchez Martinez, aka El Cholo. I am originally from Guadalajara, Jalisco. I'm here because I'm an enemy of the CJNG. I met with Omar Garcia Harfuch in the federal district so that he could give me his backing. This is due to us both being after the CJNG. And he did give me his full support, but he told me that he needed something relevant in return so that I could operate with his support and his people among the city. And so I kicked everything off. All the crimes that took place in Tonaloa, Tlaquepaque, and Tlajomulco, I am personally responsible for. And I myself called the authorities so that they would turn everything into a heightened police matter. The individuals who sponsor support here in the city are Mario Alberto, aka L03, and Zambrano, aka L02. Anyways, I'm the person responsible for that grenade thrown some time ago at the American consulate. This was done to generate panic within the city. I also gave El Marino the orders to kill the 11 Masons in Tonaloa, in the La Jauja neighborhood. All the chaotic crimes that took place were done so on my orders, but I did this on the condition that Omar Garcia Harfuch would support me in everything. he is a criminalistic individual. You guys, the few or many that are still left supporting me, it's best for your own good to just start taking care of your own families so that you don't end up like me. The last part of that quote is pretty chilling, considering what happened to him after the video. El Cholo was brutally murdered by members of CJNG, and it wasn't a quick death. Shortly after the release of the video, a body was found in Guadalajara wrapped in black plastic on a park bench. A note stabbed into the body with a knife simply read El Cholo the traitor in Spanish. Although this most certainly revenge against El Cholo, it also served as a warning to anybody considering messing with CJNG. The body was dropped off in the middle of the day, which is a massive risk in a city so large, but it meant the body would be found right away. El Cholo's body was shipped off for an autopsy, and it was during the procedure that all of the evidence of torture became apparent. It is believed that he was subjugated to hours of savage torture. 7 of his toes were broken, with another being missing entirely. He had numerous broken ribs, and nearly all of the bones in his legs were practically pulverized. He had several long knife lacerations, as well as bruises from bludgeoning all across his body. Perhaps most disturbingly, the medical examiner concluded that while he was alive, his eyes were gouged out and his tongue was ripped from his body. It wasn't cut with a knife, it was clamped in some sort of unknown device and pulled out. It's likely one of the most painful things a human being can experience. He was also subjected to high-voltage executions before finally being killed with 3 gunshot wounds to the head. The autopsy photos are available online, but we'd highly recommend not looking them up, as they are quite gruesome. There are unconfirmed rumors that El Cholo's torture was captured on video, but in all honesty, we weren't too keen on searching for any evidence of that. Even if that was recorded, it is not something that should ever be watched. Despite the death of El Cholo, the Nueva Plaza cartel continues to operate in Jalisco. The new leader, L85, is handling the cartel with a lower profile. In fact, as of right now, his whereabouts are unknown. He is wanted by both Mexican authorities and El Mencho, so it makes sense that he'd want to stay out of the public eye. Being caught by either would likely result in a death sentence, no matter if it was legal or an illegal one. Thanks so much for watching. If you're interested in this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps us to understand what content you like, and that way we can keep making great videos for you to enjoy. Make sure to hit the bell icon so you're always notified of our newest uploads, and we'll see you in the next one.